A very good evening and a very warm welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Savindri Jayawardhan. Let's look at the top stories for the day. All the school lessons of grade 1 to 13 will be made available online. Education Minister guarantees. Government must explore innovative ways to keep students active and strong. NPP parliamentarian reminds. News in detail. Education Minister Professor G.L. Pires said that government has made the facilities for the students to learn all the subjects of grade 1 to grade 13 in Sinhala and Tamil mediums online. Addressing a media briefing yesterday, Education Minister Professor G.L. Pires said that newly introduced e-Taxalawa does not cost any money when accessing the Education Ministry website. He also added that the lessons will be made available in English too.
Given the magnitude of this problem, you have to begin somewhere in a practical way. You have to address the most critical issues, try to sort them out, and expand the scope of the solution as you move along. So because the numbers are much larger in the Sinhala and Tamil media, that was the focus at the very beginning of the initiative. So that is why I said that lessons had been prepared and now in the process of being delivered in both those media, the Sinhala language and the Tamil language. That is not to imply that we are prepared to neglect instruction in the English medium. That is by no means the case. We will be addressing that as well.
National People's Power parliamentarian Dr Harini Amarasuriya stresses that relying on online education anyhow cannot be identified as a well-intentioned decision. Speaking exclusively to the Art Television in Colombo, parliamentarian Dr Harini Amarasuriya said this could lead to a situation where our education increases more dropouts from the primary as well as the higher education fields.
Relying purely on online teaching has caused lots of problems, not only children but also to their families. So imagine a family with about 2 or 3 young people of school-going age that requires multiple devices and almost continuous data access and online access. Now this comes at a huge cost. And also we know that unfortunately not everywhere in Sri Lanka has access to sort of reliable internet facilities. So we hear of there are lots of stories of young children who are forced to simply either drop out of education or are under tremendous pressure to somehow access online education. So the same goes for university students also. They were expected to sort of switch to online education almost overnight. We simply did not have the infrastructure to support such a move.
Former senior lecturer at the Department of Social Studies of the Open University of Sri Lanka and parliamentarian Dr Harini Amarasuriya suggests that the government must look for and explore other ways to keep the student population in their education. She also added that at least the authorities should attend to the matters of infrastructure and financial difficulties.
It can't be the primary and the only mode of delivery of education. We have to explore other means, we have to explore other ways and also take account of those who have been forced to drop out of education because of the infrastructure and financial difficulties associated with online education. We cannot simply ignore that population and take into account only the number of people who are currently able to access and imagine that education has been provided, which is pretty much what the authorities are doing. The other factor is this. This is not a normal situation. These are not normal conditions. These are highly abnormal conditions. So to imagine that we can continue with education uninterrupted or in a non-disruptive manner is also extremely unrealistic. Families are undergoing all kinds of problems. Young people are also under a lot of stress. We hear of a lot of instances of rising incidents of domestic violence, unemployment issues, all kinds of problems. This is a very stressful period for adults, for youth, and for children.
Stay tuned for more news right after this break.
SLT Mobitel Home Broadband data balance එක බලා ගන්න extra GB මිලදී ගන්න දුරකථන දෝෂ වාර්තා කරන්න දැන් හරිම ලේසි. My SLT app එක භාවිතා කරන්න නැත්නම් 01121212 SLT Mobitel ස්වයංක්‍රීය සේවාවට පිවිසෙන්න.
ඒත් නෑනේ පොළගාවේ කෙනන් තිබුණලු
මම ගියා එහෙත් ඉවරයි
කාර් එකයි කෝටි ගොඩයි ටිකට් එකයි දිනුම් දෙකයි සම්පත ලග්න වර්ම මාසිකම එකයි
පරක් වෙලා වාසනාව නැති කරගන්න එපා
ජාතික ලොතරැයි මණ්ඩලය
හලෝ දැන් ඔයා හිතන්නේ හැමදේම වෙනස් වුණේ කොහොමද කියලානේ උත්තරේ මගේ ළඟ තියෙනවා. අපි හැදුනේ එකම සබැඳියාවක බැඳීමෙන්. හැමදේම හොඳ වුණේ සබැඳියාවේ හැදීමෙන්. අපි මෙතනට ආවේම එකම එක සබැඳියාවක රැඳීමෙන්. ගෙදරට වැඩකට ගමනට එකම එක සබැඳියාවක බැඳෙන මුළු මහත් රටකට. Good morning sir. How can I help?
SLT Mobitel. එකම එක සබැඳියාව.
Welcome back after the break. As an experienced social activist in the education field, Dr Harini Amarasuriya also suggested that the government should revise the country's plan for the education matching with the new normal situation.
In such a situation, we cannot just sort of continue with education as if things are normal. So we have to adjust, we have to develop, revise our plans for education, think anew about what can be managed in a way that is realistic and practical at this moment in time. Also look at this period as a way of sort of letting young people learn in less formal ways. So we need to think a little bit creatively, think of the mental health and well-being of the student population as well as the adults who are responsible for young people and not imagine that we can just continue as normal in this very abnormal situation and in these very abnormal conditions.
Central bank data showed that the country has run a $929 million balance of payments deficit up to April 2021. After running a record of $2.3 billion BOP deficit in 2021 despite severe import controls, total imports rose to $1.9 billion in March and $1.7 billion in April. Sri Lanka's BOP deficit was $1.1 billion up to March 2021 despite the $500 million loan from China Development Bank in April this year. In 2021, the central bank's treasury bill stock has gone up by 171 billion rupees, with reserve money growing 66 billion rupees to 1,031 billion rupees. But Sri Lanka began the year with 266 billion rupees of excess liquidity from money printed in 2020, which had still not flowed out as imports or loan repayments. Sri Lanka has also set a non-credible soft peg around 200 to the US dollar, and it is mostly defended through financial account payments. Despite severe import controls, total imports rose to $1.9 billion in March and $1.7 billion in April in areas deemed suitable by bureaucrats, while items such as cars, which bring high revenues, are no longer imported. Analysts have warned that money is fungible and import controls are not effective as long as credit continues to grow. Not a single identified sector was shown an upward trend at the Colombo Stock Exchange yesterday when the country was brought back to normalcy, lifting the travel restrictions. Sri Lanka stocks closed 0.74% higher on Monday, helped by LOLC Development Finance, Nestle Lanka and Carson Cumberbatch. Much expected sectors such as banking, finance and leasing sectors were also shown mixed reactions. Commercial Bank of Ceylon closed 50 cents down at 89 rupees and 60 cents on Monday, and Hatton National Bank closed 50 cents down at 137 rupees a share. Sampath Bank closed 10 cents down at 55 rupees and 10 cents a share, while the DFCC Bank closed 50 cents up at 63 rupees and 50 cents. Nations Trust Bank was capable of closing flat at 58 rupees and 90 cents. However, Ceylon Bank also closed 50 cents up at 50 rupees and 50 cents. The Pan Asia Banking Corporation also managed to close 10 cents up at 16 rupees and 70 cents. Meanwhile, LOLC Development Finance closed 41 rupees or 25% up at 205 rupees a share. John Keel's Holdings closed 50 cents down at 135 rupees and 25 cents a share, and Valuable One closed flat at 54 rupees and 60 cents a share. Haley's PLC closed 1 rupees and 70 cents down at 77 rupees and 60 cents, with key subsidiaries Dip Products closing 1 rupees and 70 cents down at 52 rupees and 90 cents, and Haycar PLC fell 3 rupees and 20 cents to close at 98 rupees and 80 cents. In the hotel sector, Eden Hotel Lanka closed flat at 9 rupees and 90 cents. John Keel's Hotels closed 10 cents up at 9 rupees and 60 cents a share, and Aitken Spence Hotel Holdings closed 10 cents up at 29 rupees and 40 cents. Stay tuned for more news right after this break.
හලෝ දැන් ඔයා හිතන්නේ හැමදේම වෙනස් වුණේ කොහොමද කියලානේ? උත්තරේ මගේ ළඟ තියෙනවා. අපි හැදුනේ එකම සබැඳියාවක බැඳීමෙන්. හැමදේම හොඳ වුණේ සබැඳියාවේ හැදීමෙන්. අපි මෙතනට ආවේම එකම එක සබැඳියාවක රැඳීමෙන්. ගෙදරට වැඩකට ගමනට එකම එක සබැඳියාවක බැඳෙන මුළු මහත් රටකට. Good morning sir, how can I help?
SLT Mobitel එකම එක සබැඳියාව.
ඒත් නෑනේ පොළගාවේ නම් තිබුණලු.
මම ගියා එහෙත් ඉවරයි.
කාර් එකයි කෝටි ගොඩයි ටිකට් එකයි දිනුම් දෙකයි සම්පත ලග්නවර්ම මාසෙටම එකයි.
පරක්කු වෙලා වාසනාව නැති කරගන්න එපා.
ජාතික ලොතරැයි මණ්ඩලය.
අන්ලිමිටඩ් නම් ඉතින් SLT Mobitel අන්ලිමිටඩ් ඉන්ටර්නෙට්. හැමෝටම ෆිට වෙන හෝම් සහ මොබයිල් ඉන්ටර්නෙට් පැකේජ් පෙළක්. හුරු වෙන්න අපේ අන්ලිමිටඩ් ඉන්ටර්නෙට් වලට. SLT Mobitel එකම එක සබැඳියාව.
Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a mixed note today. The all-share price index gained 16.98 points to close at 7,743.71, and the S&P SL 20 dropped 38.37 points to close at 3,026.08. The turnover was almost 2 billion rupees for the second consecutive day, and over 67 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. And that's all news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care and good night.
State of Business.